There's a statistic that 9 out of 10 businesses fail. Well, I have good news for you. I'm here with one of the persons who have that successful business. She's very good at what she does. And I'm going to introduce you to her. Her name is Royal Edmund. Royal, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. How are you?
Good, I'm so good. So I know that this is going to be a great chat that we're going to have. So tell us a little bit about yourself and then you're going to introduce your business to us.
Okay, sure. All right, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. My name is Royal. I have been in the service industry or the restaurant industry for the past 12 or so years. I'm very passionate about cooking. I came from a cooking background. My parents would have owned small businesses, whether it be shops or small cafes and so on in the past. So I believe that this is my calling. Cooking is my calling. It's a way to, make persons happy through food. So
nice. Nice. And I know that probably it would have had a lot of challenges along the way, especially when it is that we're talking to business persons. There are the challenges and the low moments, right? Tell me about one of them that really shifted gears for you.
Okay. In regards to the low moments, during the pandemic, we had other issues with restaurants being able to open and close. So during the pandemic, I was supposed to open my first restaurant, Stash Cafe, and then the government would have put restrictions in place to prevent that. So I decided, you know what, let me just do this from home. I have a vehicle, I can cook, I might as well just deliver. However, my dad would have gotten ill during the pandemic, so that would have kind of pushed back what I would have wanted to do for my business. So I had to kind of pause on that a little bit.
So, Royal, tell us about this business.
Lovely question. I love to speak about Gemini Cafe. So Gemini Cafe is a small cafe, hopefully soon to be a big cafe, located in Vista Bella. We do, one of our signature things that we do at the cafe is we do breakfast all day. So you can get your local cuisine as well as omelets, bagels, these type of items straight till we close till 9 p.m. As well as we wanted to kind of get Trinidad and Tobago accustomed or familiar with something called charcuterie boards. That's a meat and cheese board. So that's one of our main things that we supply for events and so on. So Gemini Cafe is a family-owned restaurant. I may have one or two persons outside of my family that works at the restaurant. So my nieces do our social media. My sisters, they both work at the cafe as chefs. So it's kind of family oriented because I'm a family person. So yeah.
Nice. So is it that when you pitch like the dream, like the vision, that everybody jumped in and supported one time?
They actually did. My sister, one of my sisters, I have 7 sisters by the way. One of them is a co-owner and a co-founder. Every time I have an idea, she would say what you need, what we need to do. She would never question it. She would never ask me for anything like a business plan or how she just says, what do we need to start this business? So she's very supportive there. All my sisters, I would call them. They would help me with cooking, cleaning, the sales, advertising. So I have no problems within my family to get my business out there.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
we
fantastic.
kind of close knit, yeah.
And 7 sisters.
7 sisters. A lot of girls in the house growing up.
All right. Along the journey, I know that you said that you've been in that space of customer service and so on. Yeah. Tell me what delights you the most about that. What triggers you in terms of you like when somebody say, "Oh my gosh, I had the most incredible time," and stuff like that. Like what do you look forward to?
I actually look forward to them returning to spend their cash. I actually prefer that. Persons can say yes, they enjoy it. Because some persons are a little bit shy and they may not want to express how they really feel about the item, but they will not return. However, at the cafe, we see regular customers, almost every day persons stop at the cafe to start their day. So for me, that's the best thing as a business owner, to see that every morning.
Yeah. I know that there's normally challenges in terms of, I want to say, marketing and billing. Tell me, how has that been for you?
Now I just thought that opening this business, I would have been a chef. I would have cooked. Persons know I cook, they would have come to the cafe and purchase. Now I have that support. However, to gravitate towards new persons, I was not expecting it to be that difficult for marketing. So usually on a Sunday we do content. we take about 8 hours to do our content to only get 1 or 2 videos. Because the amount of time you'll have to do retakes and retakes. So imagine 8 hours of a day to get 2 30-second videos.
Yeah.
To possibly reach 10 persons. However, these 10 persons would reach another 10 persons, and that has been a little bit, I'm grateful for things like that, you know?
Yeah.
Even though you're putting in the work, you kind of see in the results a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You have to plant seeds.
Yeah.
So I know that you mentioned at the start that you started off with the vision to cook and to deliver the service. Now, however, you would have elevated yourself to the point where you now have a team around you. It now effortlessly works because you're here right now talking to me, and I know that business is running smooth. Right? So tell us a little bit about that type of transition, because a lot of persons I know, they get stuck behind the pot.
Well, I kind of have experience as a manager. I was a manager at an Italian restaurant for 3 years in Tobago. So that kind of gave me an idea as to how to manage and run a company or run a business, because the company I used to work for have a few branches. So I understand from the business owner's perspective. I used to look at him, he puts everything in place that he does not have to be at the restaurant. So I kind of take a few ideas and kind of pattern certain things from him, and I learned a lot. So that's how I run at this point in time, I can take a weekend off and don't have to worry about if the business will be running or not. So for me, that's that's really good.
So that is beautiful. So I love that, because a lot of persons, and I want to say, they may underestimate the level of work that it takes, right? So they jump into it not knowing the different levels that they could go, right? And I always say, to be a good leader, you also must be a good follower, right? And it's incredible that you were able to take the value of what you would have learned and actually implement it in your own business to be successful. Because I always watch, and just to segue a little bit, I always watch at how many persons that pass through a lot of restaurants, a lot of food places, a lot of fast food, and they come out with, I want to say, not the necessary skills to do something for themselves. And I always kind of say, well, they were focused on the money, which means that they were not able to acquire the skills, which is way more valuable than the money. So it's incredible. I love that whole story, because it shows that technically you had a mentor to be able to get you to where it is that you want to go. So fantastic stuff. What would you say to advise the young persons who looking to follow in your footsteps?
Great question. How can I advise them? To be honest, I kind of had to trust their gut. You know, oftentimes persons question themselves, they overthink stuff, and it's unnecessary. Take the steps day by day, go through the motions. Business is very difficult, but it's very rewarding. The reason being, I've been working for the past, this year makes it 13 years I've been working. So imagine being able to retire before 30 years with a skill that whether you have it naturally or you would have learned it along the way. And I believe as young persons, we need to focus a little bit more on the bartering system. So you have a service, I have a service, different services, we share, we interact, and not just only settle to be an employee. You can have a little business on the side as well, you know, to kind of encourage them. Because I started off with working at a company, having milk cooking at the side, and then eventually it's become a main source of income, you know. So it's very rewarding.
And I know that most persons would just focus on the 8 to 4, but sometimes what you do after 4 is so valuable. It's so valuable, because I remember even working in the bank, and I know that a few persons would kind of recall this, but I worked from 8 to 4. Then after the bank, I set up a table lower down the road, used to sell like some little like trinkets, costume jewelry. Then when I reached home, I started this juice business. So I used to actually go and make juice, bottle it out, supplied a few vendors, the bacon shack lady used to call and be like, people waiting on the juice, they're buying it.
Actually, love juice.
So and a lot of persons would have watched that and be like, well, why is he doing this and why is he doing this? And I mean, to just say that my goal is bigger. So my goal is bigger. I had to put in the work because I don't want to be average in life.
True.
And I think that a lot of persons just settle to say, all right, it's okay for me to fit in, but if you really have a dream or like a vision and you say, all right, I want to maximize my potential.
Yeah.
I want to go to I want to see how far that I could go.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
And I think that I kind of like knit to sports, right? So, for example, somebody do start weightlifting and be like, all right, this 10 pound, it feeling real comfortable, I'm crossing this at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, next month, next year, I will be crushing my 10.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody thinks like that. Like, nobody says, well, I run 15 seconds, so I'm good at that, I'll keep on running 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's trying to become better and improve themselves, and I think that a lot of persons discount where they could go by just settling for where they feel comfortable.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So
yeah. Wow. Nice piece of information. Yeah.
All right. So I have a question for you.
Okay.
Right? And I believe that this is like a local challenge that we have. There's so much people that are comfortable also working for a salary, where they may have like an opportunity to go out and lead and be in business. What do you think is the main factor or the thing that's missing for us to get more persons realizing they need to stand up and speak out and begin building themselves more?
Well, firstly, I was actually one of those persons that I was satisfied with being an employee because I know at the end of the month I would receive said salary and said salary. However, I had some goals. So I said at 25, I'd own my first vehicle out the showroom and I'd be a restaurant manager or a manager of any company, wherever I would have been employed. And then 24 years came. I was 24 years old. I became a restaurant manager. And then I was like, girl, it's nice, but this is the end. You are 25 years old, we're approaching 25, and you have accomplished the goals that you would have wanted to accomplish at this particular age. What's next? There isn't any higher to go in the rank, or So I was like, you know what? Let me just try to see if I could start back up this cooking thing and see how it will go, how it will progress. But I didn't have the faith, I didn't have the courage. I spoke to my sister, she said, Roy, we doing this. What you need, we pushing towards this.
Yeah.
In terms of speaking out and stuff, oftentimes we're not confident. I believe confidence is important. I thought I was confident until I was faced with the challenge of actually opening somewhere and worried about will my product sell, how will I make my rent, how will I pay my staff. So I believe if persons see more persons doing it, they would be more encouraged to stand out, to speak out on their platform about, doing these types of stuff. So I believe that's all we're missing. More persons doing it. We're seeing persons like you or started from where you started from doing it. Because oftentimes we see persons who would have had some sort of they were nepo babies, I believe we call it. They would have been reaping from their parents or grandparents' monies and they starting companies and they're doing well. What about the persons that are starting from scratch?
Yeah.
So if we see persons starting from the ground and building themselves, we might be able to, push ourselves a little bit more.
Yeah. Another thing too is that I think that we need to be much more supportive because obviously you're not gonna succeed at your first try. So, and I think that that's a myth as well. Like people feel, all right, I have an idea that it's guaranteed that it's gonna work right away, and sometimes what you may have learned from the failure is what sets you up for success in the next idea.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that we might kind of criticize failure too much to the point where somebody gets burned, they don't want to get burned again.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really grateful that you had the support, you had the structure there, and you had the skill set as well, right? So everything kind of lined up.
Yeah.
And for persons out there, sometimes we might say, all right, well, you were able to do it and start your restaurant business and it's booming and it's successful. All right, I'm gonna do it too. But they didn't go through like the trial, the skill set, building themselves, learning from the roots. So do we tell persons, and I'm just throwing this out here, do we tell persons to go and build up their skill bank first before they really pursue, before they really zone in and channel in?
I was actually not going to comment on that. So 20-year-old Royal could not have owned Gemini Cafe. 21-year-old Royal up to 25-year-old Royal could not have been a business owner.
Yeah.
She 25 up to 25-year-old Royal didn't have enough knowledge or understanding of business. I would encourage persons, yes, do a degree, yes, do your short courses, but I learned through doing. So me acting in the role of the position would have helped me understand. I also had a really good foundation in customer service. One of my first jobs, I was working in a DVD store. You have to sell these DVDs. DVDs difficult to sell. Good day, ma'am. What type of movie is this? How good is this movie? You have to sell these customers these movies. So that was skill number one. I remember I was 19 years old and I started to work at a particular restaurant. First time we they put me in the front of the house. They find her pleasant. They put me to the front of the house. I remember this customer. I'll never forget this lady. Came in an all white suit. I was serving her tea and coffee. And my hands were shaking so much, I spilled the tea and coffee on this customer. Now, if I would have quit at that moment and say, no, really not going to do this waitressing thing again, maybe I would not have been 27-year-old Royal now having Gemini Cafe.
Yeah.
Because I would have given up at that one moment. Now, she was a little bit rowdy. But my manager said, no, Royal, that's how it is. You're now starting. Let's try again. So if I didn't have positive persons around me, pushing me and encouraging me to continue, then I may not have been the place I am now.
Definitely.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
that is enough for somebody to quit. Definitely. There was something that you mentioned there, and I know that off camera that we spoke about this whole journey, this sweet journey of valleys and mountains and so on. And you talk about working in the store, in the DVD store, right? And sometimes I think that we try to skip the developmental stages, and we don't know that it's all about where you finish, not where you start.
Yeah.
So the majority of persons may be trying to start where they want to end.
Yeah.
And not knowing that they need to build from the finish on this whole journey. So tell me, what's your general thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I was actually going to touch on comparison. What we do as human beings, we compare.
Yes.
So my year 1, you compare to somebody's year 6 or year 7, and that's the issue. Your year 1 doesn't necessarily have to be that. Some persons get lucky, I must say. But you need to focus on what did this person do, maybe, to be so successful at year 6, But in terms of hills and valleys, I believe that oftentimes persons kind of forget when they're in the valley that they just came down from a hill. You just had a high in your life. Why focus on the low? And then the only way to go is up again.
Yeah.
You're in the valley, where's you'll go? Is you stay in the valley, you continue going, you'll reach to the top again. So it's all about, once again, I don't mean to keep focusing on my support system, but I have to continue doing that. But let me also touch on persons that do not have a support system. My support system was not always like this. Growing up, we had a different approach on life. We had to kind of navigate it on our own.
Yeah.
And sometimes you see reading and looking at particular TV shows and movies. It's all about what they put in is what will come out.
Yeah.
So that's basically how I navigate through life in regards to hills and valleys. Yeah.
Nice. All right. So I want to go back to something that we mentioned before. I mentioned that some people get stuck behind the pot. And I don't know why that kind of rhymes so much. And you mentioned that you would have been in the position before in terms of management, as well as technically being mentored to understand how the business runs. How do we get the clarity of the levels, the different levels that there are, right? Because I want to say, even in other businesses, people get stuck doing the self-employed. And they honestly, and this is the biggest misconception for me, right? People say, I run my own business. But you can't leave your business, right? And there's no scale to your business. There's no fallback for your business. So there's a whole lot that I see wrong in terms of self-employment it may be a great phase, but because I've been there too, like my obsession is how do I move past that level? Tell me how or what you may have learned that might have been outside of like the restaurant business in terms of leveling up in terms of owning the business, in terms of moving to manager, hiring persons, probably even firing persons because that comes with the territory, and understanding how you could get the system to work on its own.
Wow, good question. So usually I'm very particular. I like to micromanage. I expect persons to be exactly like me, operate how I operate, and we'll all be fine. However, doing a lot of self-reflection and introspection and so on, I realized that we all have different personalities.
Yeah.
We need to learn how to adjust with different personalities. What taught me how to work with other persons and how to kind of learn to step away from the business. A few years ago, I was working as a loans officer. And as a loans officer, you have to be a shark in the ocean. You need to learn to get those loans, get your money, get your sales. And I realized that my approach might be, I'd usually be pleasant to customers, I think your car probably need help painting, things to kind of encourage them to take a loan. Other persons might be bullying them into taking a loan.
Yeah.
So learning your employees' strengths, weaknesses, all these things assist with learning how to step away from the business, as well as having trust in the person that you hire. Because if you cannot trust the person that you hire, then is it the employee's problem or is it a you problem? If I can't train you properly to execute this job, where are we going wrong in that area? So I believe that kind of helped me learn to step away from the business and stop micromanaging. As long as I know I train you properly, I know what you're capable of, I can step away and be here on the podcast, So yeah.
Nice. So for the persons who actually hire a lot of persons, right? For businesses that hire a lot of persons, there's a trend of, I want to say, toxic workers that normally do pass through. And of course, they will come and they will present and say, I reach on time, I just do this, I just do that. And when they're on the team now, you realize, well, you're late, you're not giving 100%. I think that is the biggest one that I struggle with. The people who find that it's okay in their life to give 50% or to give a substandard amount. I mean, it doesn't matter who it is that you're working for. You should personally have a standard of how you want to deliver your service, right? So from the way that it sounds on your end, you've never had to deal with people like that.
I actually did. However, I live by one of my friends, one of my really good friends, always mentioned this. He was like, what you allow, it will continue. So if you allow your work environment to encourage persons to not give 100%, because if I am the boss, I'm the owner, and I'm working 16, 17 hours a day to ensure that the business, whether it be behind the scenes or so on, and you may have a 6-hour shift and you want to lollygag for the entire shift, then, what you allow, it will continue. That's what I'll stand by. You have to, that's it,
And so, let's just say, the vision now for the business, because I love to talk about goals, I love to talk about dreams, I love to talk about visions. The Bible says without a vision the people perish, right? So I like that, and write the vision and make it plain. And I know that I mentioned to you I love to take off goals, I legit, I want to do this by this age, I want to hit this by this, I want to achieve this, and I love to push the boundaries as well. So the vision, I know that it's been very successful beyond where it is that you thought so far.
Yeah.
Where is the glimpse into the future for it?
Ooh, wow, I love that question. Really and truly, Gemini Cafe was not supposed to start off as a cafe. It was supposed to be a restaurant. But we need to be kind of realistic with our goals sometimes. Start a little bit smaller and then move up. So I'm hoping by the end of the year we have another branch, as well as by next year, middle of the year or so, we have an actual restaurant. That I love my cafe, but I would love to have a restaurant. Love to have a restaurant. And probably a food truck as well. Because I realized now for the carnival season, a lot of these bands encouraging young and small business owners to kind of come on board with them. So maybe by next year I should be in one of the parties or on the road with some of the bands,
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole lot of potential opportunities.
Yes.
Opportunities. So I'm looking forward to your continued success, and I know that I'll definitely get like an invite.
Yeah. I literally had it on my phone.
So so let's just land here a little bit in terms of where it is that we're going. I know that you spoke about your brand and you spoke about where it, we didn't talk about where it is as yet, but about the brand. Tell persons what they could look forward to, like the brand itself. What is the goal to make everybody feel like kings and queens and royalty?
Love that.
To create such an environment, because I always wonder these things as well. I think that like a restaurant, or let's just say like a cafe, it's a beautiful thing when you're able to paint certain pictures. So for example, when your child does really well in tests, where do you take them to treat them nice? Sometimes there's levels to it. You can't just go and buy a lolly and an ice cream, right?
Yeah.
You want to take them where they could get exceptional service, where they feel like it's a dream. They feel like they're being treated like a king or a queen or whatever that it is. Because I'm so passionate about customer service as well. Like, I look for the restaurants when I know I'm gonna get good service. And I really, when I get good service, I will be like, all right, like the tip would just be going up in my mind. Like I'll probably have like an initial tip in my mind, but if you go beyond, I'll be like, all right, cool. This person, they're on my list. They could get a bonus, and so on. So I know I jump all over the place.
No, it's okay.
Right?
It's okay.
So,
I'll get.
But tell me.
So this kind of I would say the slogan of the business is not a regular eating experience.
Okay.
I believe, based on customers' feedback, but I'm kind of confident we have the best bakes, the best wings, the best breakfast, as well as the best overall experience.
Sign me up.
Yeah, overall experience for me, because I came from a customer service background, that is also important to me.
Yeah.
And I realize oftentimes persons, based on the end customers' feedback from other places they would have experienced, oftentimes persons rarely go back to places with good food. They sometimes go back to places with good customer service. So your food okay, but the service is amazing. They usually go back. It's about the memorable experience. The waitress was really nice there. The food was alright, but when I go there, she know my order by now, and these types of things. So often when customers come into the cafe, we already know what they're coming to have, because we have that type of relationship with our customers. A place like Gemini Cafe, because we are interactive or one-on-one with the customers on a daily basis, we kind of focus. Yes, our food is amazing, but our customer service is even better. It has reached a point now where customers have their favorite employee. So we would come in, hey, we're so by so today, she ain't working today. Oh God, usually she does, So things like that for me, I sometimes I get a little bit emotional talking about it, because knowing that it is allowed to either cook some food and give to persons or sell to persons, and it has now become a place where persons choose to dine and start their day or have lunch or end their day, for me is, you can't get better than that. Yeah.
And I think even in terms of memories, I mean, you want to have the space that you could actually create memories to celebrate wins and so on. So I think that is beautiful. One thing that I wanted to get at as well, tell me a little bit more about the name itself.
Right. Oh, I love that. Sorry, I love to talk about the name because I am a Gemini, proud Gemini. So that was the initial thought process in regards to the name, Gemini Cafe. I'm a Gemini son. But then when you look at the Gemini sign, it's two persons, usually a twin. My sister and I, who started the business together, we are a year and a half apart. We resemble to the point of persons thinking we are twins.
Okay.
So I was like, you know what, it's my sister and I, Gemini Cafe. As well as when you kind of look a little bit deeper, I would say the twins could also be generations. So one generation passed on to the other generation. So my parents would have passed it on to us, and then we hope to pass it on to our next generation.
Yeah.
So and then the Gemini as well. There's so many. We thought about so many things with this Gemini Cafe. Best of both worlds. Customer service, food. Experience, food. So Gemini twins, yeah. But I wanted to kind of go back on a topic they touched on earlier in regards to the general experience at the cafe. Currently we want to kind of expand in our dining area, but in terms of our decor, it's very uplifting. Persons would come in and we have a particular wall where we talk about dream big, live well, these types of things. So when they come into the cafe, maybe you're having a bad day, but you read something on the wall and it probably can, kind of change your mood, change your day.
Yeah.
So we kind of foster a nice space, and we have a beautiful grass wall. You can take your little pictures by, and it kind of uplifts you as you walk into the cafe. Then the colors are pink and yellow. I mean, you wouldn't feel happy walking into a bright place like that.
Yeah.
So I kind of center the business around feeling good, looking good, happiness, things like that, But I had to focus on the dream big and the live well, because I would have been the person to dream big, in order to live well now. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, Gemini Cafe, is it that you want to segment everybody else and leave them out of the equation?
In terms of the other horoscopes?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God, no. All horoscopes are welcome, but I kind of love my Geminis because if you kind of look into the Gemini horoscope, we really, we are amazing persons. Our personality is really good. We kind of crazy a little bit, and that kind of makes, because we are crazy, my cafe is just colorful and bright, because you know what, anything goes with us.
Yeah.
My sister wanted gray as the cafe. We literally were supposed to open the 24th, I believe it was a Sunday. 3 hours before my opening, I decided to paint this place yellow and pink.
Wow.
I was like, you know what, I really wanted this color, but my sister is more reserved. She likes gray, she likes black, she likes white. But I was like, you know what, Royal? And then I call my friends and say, well, let me change in this color. We had some paint home, we organized, we painted the place yellow and pink a few hours before the open. That is crazy.
Yeah.
But it's spontaneous. I'm very spontaneous. Sometimes I go to work in the morning, I cook something different, I give samples to customers, what are we doing this today? Especially my regulars, I would. So for me, it's being spontaneous and just happy and living in your truth and being content with the space that you're in now and just hoping to reach the next level, So
Beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful. So, tell us where we could find you on Facebook, on Instagram, on what social channels that we could find your beautiful ads and menus and everything like that, so that we could begin planning for our special events.
Right. So it's Gemini, Gemini_cafe_, all letters common, simple, on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah, we kind of building our TikTok right now, trying to do some content, Yeah, I like to act a little bit, so content creation has been really, really good for me. A good exposure to the world. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So that's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah, Gemini_cafe_. Yeah, simple.
And if somebody want to call to book, do they call to book or they just message?
They can prefer DMs, however, we accept calls, so you can contact us on 363-0141 or 386-5525, and we can definitely book you. Persons actually booked for their birthdays and Valentine's Day and so on so far. So we can again have a few bookings here and there. We have a few stuff coming up, some baby showers, some anniversaries and so on, yeah.
Beautiful.
So yeah, the space can transform in the night to something very sensual if you're looking for something like that. Happy and cozy in the day, but could be all sensual in the night, yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Intimate,
So
yeah.
when you want to do like a couples promotion on a random Tuesday, you could organize some tickets.
Yeah, you could, as well as next door to the cafe there's a bar that does karaoke on Tuesday. So karaoke nights usually are really, really busy.
Nice.
So we do, karaoke nights are really, really busy. So we can come down at the cafe, do your karaoke, we do free samples, our staff interacts with the karaoke, so sometimes our staff will be outside there singing, and so it's a really nice experience. Tuesdays are our best days at the cafe in terms of sales and so on, yeah.
Nice,
Best
nice. So Royal, I want to say that it was a pleasure having this conversation with you. I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to you to have much, much more success. I want to visit and have a meal and definitely bring my friends there and my team there, and we'll see how it goes from there.
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah.